Thank you for joining us for another edition of Hope Rocks Recovery. We have a great edition for you. I'm so excited to be back with the guests that we have for you tonight. What I want to do is I want to remind you that Hope Rocks Recovery is designed to be a multi-tiered approach to supporting those who are having difficulty on their journey, either through addiction, through a mental instability. And our mission is first to enlighten and educate. And then we want to empower, and we want to empower individuals and communities not only to support, but to then create the methods and the mechanisms to help solve these issues and this crisis really that we're dealing with, because engagement is the key. We can talk about it, we can learn about it and know about it, but until we're engaged, we're still not going to go anywhere. I hope everybody is staying safe, and not just from the virus itself, but from the byproduct of the virus. You know, the lack of human contact, the inability to attend meetings. Please check out our Facebook page and our website for continual updates of support, meetings, and counseling. And I want to point out on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern time, our good friend and hope dealer, Mike Farris, does an extraordinary recovery meeting, and it's for everyone. And he does it on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern time. It's called Mornings with Mike. Follow Mike on his Facebook page, Instagram page, and I know that it will be healing. So today we have Miss Katie Toupin, and we are thrilled that Katie is here with us. Katie, how are you, my friend?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I am great. I got to take my graphic off and put your graphic on.
Okay.
Where are we without graphics? Katie, you were supposed to appear at a Hope Rocks with Katie Toupin in Woodstock on Friday night. And until all heck broke loose, and we are in a situation that we presently find ourselves in, and your life has been turned upside down. I mean, go through the beginning of your Magnetic Moves tour.
Well, so I mean, I guess I started touring around this record last spring. So I was in the middle of a tour that started in March. I think it was in March, and I was about halfway through that tour. I mean, the start of that tour was crazy. The tornado came through, hit Nashville, wiped out the Basement East, which I was playing a few days after it hit. So it was already off to a weird start. And then the coronavirus kind of really set sail, like right when we left. And it was a weird couple weeks or a week and a half or something that we were actually on the road. And we were really hyper aware of like how many people I was talking to at the merch table and how many people were hugging me and how many people I was around. I was on tour with a band called Fruition, and we would just go in the green room and spray ourselves down with rubbing alcohol, in between, talking to fans. So
we're having a little lag in our stream, and Katie will be right back with us shortly. Katie Toupin is a singer-songwriter who is presently located in Kentucky. And Katie, backstory, is from a band that made it rather big. As a matter of fact, the band in 2015 had a Billboard #1 selling album in the United States, American, for adult alternative music. She's performed in front of tens of 15,000 people. And through a separation of ways, she and the band separated ways, and she is in the process of building her solo career. And with her solo career, she's not quite getting the support that she thought the record companies would have for her. So Katie is a battler. She is a fighter. So, Katie, you're back. Good to see you back.
Okay, I don't know what happened.
It don't matter.
It'll be fine.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so tell us about your tour is about ready to start. You've got a full slate of dates ahead. You've got the tornado, and then you've got the corona.
Yeah, we had the corona thing, and it started happening in the middle of the tour, and like by the last day we played, it was just really, everybody was really hyper aware of, how infectious this thing is and how many people were gathering in these spaces, and it started to feel really unsafe. And when they canceled sports, they canceled sports. So it got kind of scary, and so we called it, and the promoters all called it, and they, we had to cancel or at least postpone our show together.
Now you're home and you're busy. And it's so great yes, you are busy. If anybody that follows Katie on her social media can appreciate how busy she is, because she keeps the music flowing, she keeps her fan base up to date with what's going on in her life. And Katie, tell us about the importance of doing that.
I mean, I just feel like that's who I am, and being transparent and what's going on with me. And it helps me to, stay accountable to myself if I'm, if I have all these things to do. Me left with too much time is probably not the best thing. I was actually, I had just gotten off tour. After the tour, I was supposed to be moving to Nashville for a few months because my band is based out of Nashville, and it just made sense for me to be there. But because of the corona, that just no longer made any sense. So I had nowhere to go. So I actually came to Lexington, Kentucky, and I've been staying with my mom, my family, which is, this is the only place I'd want to be, I guess, during all of this. It's nice to have people around and everything. But yeah, I'm really busy. The live streaming thing is, it's new. It's what people are doing, and there's a lot of it going around. And I think it's a really cool way to get to connect with people. I can be in your living room, which is super cool.
It's very
and I felt this sort of pressure of needing to write and having to write because I had all this time, and I just haven't. But I started learning all these cover songs, and that's been really nice for me. And so I'm just kind of doing stuff that I enjoy, but still feel like I'm able to connect with fans. I've been writing, I exercise every day, and I'm also donating masks. I've been sewing for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day sometimes, sewing masks and donating them to just anybody that really needs them.
Yeah, talk about those masks for a minute, because that's part of your Patreon program as well. And who do you have helping you with that?
So my mom and my cousin and I have a sort of assembly line going in the house. I can show it to you if you want. Thing. But yeah, my patrons really have helped. They help me, to tour, to pay people fair wages, because now that I'm solo, you hire everybody. And so it just can be very expensive to do what I do. And sometimes that doesn't break even. And so the patrons really help with that. They help with recording new music, and and now they're helping with making masks. And I did gift some of my patrons masks. If they pledge over $50, I sent them all a mask. I'm going to keep that going. But yeah, they just having a little bit of extra money coming my way allows me to do more stuff. And in this, time, I'm making masks.
Katie, let's talk about magnetic moves for a minute. It seems to me, and I'm no expert, that it was a departure for you, but also a discovery for you in a new discovering your songwriting skills based on your own without the band that you've been a part of for so many years. And in listening to the songs on Magnetic Moves, there's a distinct difference to them. Can you share your thoughts on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, I was in a band, I played music with the same people. I actually started playing with them when I was 17, before Houndmouth, and then Houndmouth when I was 20, and toured until I was 26. So basically my entire adult life, I played with the same people. And so that was a really huge transition for me to go from this thing to now what's your opinion without all that. And that's still developing all the time. But I think I got to a place where I was actually, Magnetic Moves is a breakup record. I was going through a breakup, and I wanted to be really vulnerable, and that wasn't something that was very supported in my past, band, to be super vulnerable and super direct and lyrically. And that's something that scared the hell out of me, to be honest. And that was something that I knew I needed to sort of do. And I kind of have done that since I left. There were all these sort of benchmarks of what was scary was the thing that I needed to do next. For instance, like even before Houndmouth, I hadn't played a show totally solo. I don't think ever. Because even when I was doing coffee shops and stuff when I was 17, 18, 19, I was a duo. And so playing totally by myself was terrifying. So that was the first kind of thing that I had to do. And so I actually went on a tour with Matt Costa and played all my songs totally solo. And so there's been all these little benchmarks, and Magnetic Moves was definitely one of those benchmarks of, I wrote all the songs myself. They were all super direct, and pretty vulnerable and literal. And I produced the album myself too, which was something that when I left the band, everybody kept telling me I needed to have a producer. I would try all these different producers, and nothing felt good. I would just hear this thing back, and it would be like, it didn't feel like me. And so it was really cool to make something that was like, this sounds exactly like me, and that was a huge accomplishment for me. But yeah, it was terrifying. Everything that I try to do is the next scary thing.
And let's talk about, why we're here with Hope Rocks Recovery. Part of that whole new journey was a journey on sobriety and reaching your sobriety. How did the two, did they correspond at all, or is it just a coincidence?
Well, what corresponded?
The making of the inspiration for Magnetic Moves, not the inspiration, the movement behind it, so that you could get out there on your own and face the world as Katie Toupin rather than Katie Toupin formerly of, and
right.
and move through sobriety at the same time.
Yeah. So you talk about those next scary things. I mean, that was a thing that I held on to, I latched on to, and it was the last thing that I wanted to part ways with. It was the last thing that I was willing to do. I would try everything except that. Right. And eventually it became really, really clear for me that was the thing that I had to do. And the thing is about getting sober is that you grow so quickly after that. What might take somebody, it take me 5 years to do, I grew in a matter of 6 months. It's like you learn all of this stuff about yourself, and you don't realize how stunted your growth is, I think, when you're drinking or using or whatever. And so, yeah, I think it was a huge factor of me being able to make the decisions and just honestly have the self-confidence to do that, to make a record, to write a record, to produce a record, and to walk in and say, yes, I'm valuable enough to make these decisions, and I don't think I would have had that there's no way I would have had that. And I wouldn't have had the support. I wouldn't have had the support group that I had to make that record. I wouldn't have been able to maintain the relationships necessary to do all of these things. So being sober is absolutely the reason that I'm able to do all the things that I do.
What was the moment or moments that made you really say, I have to make a change in my life. I can't move on this way anymore. I can't live this way anymore.
Yeah. So I think it was, I moved to California. I did the thing. And lots of, if somebody is recovering, or they understand that I'm going to move away and everything is going to be different kind of thing. And so I moved to LA, and then, all the sort of same feelings and same things kept following me. And so I started, I realized I was writing. I knew I wanted to make a record, and I was writing, but I so when I would go out a couple times a week, but it was like a big deal. And like, I would be recovering for a couple of days,
Right.
And so it was like, it wasn't pretty, and I wasn't, living up to my own expectations by any means. I was falling short, and I saw that I wasn't writing. I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to do. And I realized that I had the thought, my dreams are not going to come true if I keep doing the things that I'm doing. And it was one of those times where I went out, and I felt horrible the next day. And I told myself, that's it. I'm never doing this again. And then a week later, I did it again. And I thought, oh my God. And I've had the realization that I wasn't making the call. You think that you're making all these calls when you realize that it's an addiction, or it's something bigger making these decisions, and I realized I wasn't in control of drinking, and it was something else that was driving that.
Right.
And so I went out, and I remember being super hyper aware of everything I was doing, and I couldn't get it out of my head that I was doing this thing that I promised myself I wasn't gonna do, and I never really experienced that before. And it scared me. It really, really, really scared me. And so it wasn't the next day. The next day I felt horrible. It was the day after that I went to a meeting. And that was it. That was the last day, June 2nd, 2017.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So your support system in maintaining your journey, your discovery journey, describe your support system. What is that like? What is that all about?
Yeah. So, and the thing that happens to you when you are somebody that goes out, that drinks, that uses, you're just around that. Those are the people that you have. That's what that becomes normal, and it becomes very familiar. So I think that was initially that's a huge factor is social pressure. And I'm glad that I got to meet people to hang out with, and that helped a lot, because I was living in California. I wasn't near family. My family didn't really know the extent of things, and they still don't need to know, they don't, but and so I didn't have that. I had people in meetings, and I made friends, and people that I would have never thought I would have hung out with became my friends. And then you just don't hang, the social aspect of it, I think, was, getting out of rock and roll for a little while. And I had a very sort of normal life. I wasn't going to shows. For a little while, I didn't really do much. I just went to meetings, and I read, and I prayed, and I reset myself. Now most of my friends are sober, and if they're not sober, they don't really have problems. You just attract different people, once you're sober, and once you are putting off a different type of energy, those are the people that, come into your life. And so I would say I have tons of support now on tour. I don't have to, I'm not a person that band or anything like that, but people are just respectful, and I don't get triggered. I don't have cravings. I don't have any of that stuff. And if I do, I tell someone, and then it's fine. I mean, it's different. They say the cravings go away. They do. I actually at this moment can't even imagine doing that. It's the weirdest thing. It's like your brain just switches. Does that make sense?
It makes great sense. Now, I want to ask you about there's so many things I want to ask you with regard to that. First off, here we are, we're in a circumstance where we're almost 2 months into isolation. Hmm. Describe the danger of that for somebody who needs that socialization, that grouping, that support. I find that is going to be a major byproduct of this virus. But what are how important is it?
I'd say it's enormously important. For me, I can only speak for what I know. And for me, I need a routine. I need things that I do. It's like I need structure in my day, and those are the things that help me. I have people that I talk to and reach out to. I need socialization. But first and foremost, it's like, did you exercise? Did you shower? Did you do all the things that you need to do to feel better? And then, there's outlets for socializing. I'm not a person, I'm just being totally transparent. I'm not a person that still goes to meetings all the time. I know that they're there if I need them, and that's like perfect for me. I have lots of friends that they need them every day, and so they're doing online meetings, there's Zoom meetings, there's, if you've been to meetings before, you have a phone full of contacts, that you can call whenever, which is the most wonderful thing about 12-step, but you have to do it, you have to do the things that you're supposed to do. If I think, what was it? There was like one sponsor that I heard speak once, and they said, I tell my sponsees before they call me, they have to shower, they have to work out, they have to shower, they have to eat something good. There was like this whole list of things that they had to do. And by the time you're done with those things, you feel better, then you can just call your friend and say hi. You're not in a crisis. But in the early days of sobriety, you do need that support group. So I really, really feel for the people who are in their early days, these online resources are crucial.
Katie, it's somebody who has been watching your career for a while. One of the things that really strikes me and really hits home is you seem far more comfortable with yourself, and it radiates. There's an internal just joy that radiates from you. Not that it was absent before, but it's more pronounced now. Am I off base? Is this something that I'm dreaming?
You're totally correct, and that was a lot of stuff, and using alcohol and all that stuff. That was a byproduct. I don't know, which came first, the chicken or the egg, but they sure lived together well. There was a lot of toxicity in my life and a lot of stuff that that I didn't feel very good for a very, very long time. And so, but once I got sober, and once I initially made the change to, leave my old band and then get sober, it's been the best thing ever, it's impossible to, I think this is a huge thing. Environmental factors are really, really important for somebody that's recovering. You can't, like, there would be times when I would be in my old band and I would go like 3 or 4 months without drinking, but eventually stuff caught up, and it all fell apart again. You can't change when everything around you is just, toxic. It's really, really difficult. So, I mean, I have friends and family that are, they deal with relapse a lot, and that's, you have to take yourself out of being around it, of normalizing that thing. And so for me, it was, getting out of the rock and roll for a little while, and it was, definitely saved my life. It would have been impossible to make that change. And I feel great, like I am happy. And of course I have bad days. Everybody has bad days, but I get through them, without drinking, and I feel better a lot faster.
And it's great to see. It really is great to see. You know that I'm a teacher, and I work with young people. And one of the things that I have the hardest time with is I do an awful lot of drug, alcohol, self-esteem, confidence, education building. And you watch those 10 or 11 or 12-year-old kids make one choice. And that one choice ends up creating a life for them that they never wanted. And certainly as a teacher or somebody who works with young people, that's not why we do it. What advice, where can I improve? How can we do a better job with that?
That's a deep question. I don't know. I know that when I was a kid, and this is really common, I think we hear this a lot from addicts or alcoholics, and that they felt different, and the kids that feel different, they just want to feel normal. And that's a thing that before I knew about alcohol or I knew about anything, I just knew that there was sort of unsettled feeling that I had always. And I remember being really, really young, and I put this together. I used to have an addiction when I was a child to saving animals. I wanted to save everything. And we had my parents, and I would just lose my shit if they wouldn't let me rescue something. I had 5 dogs and 5 cats and just way too many animals. And I had this addiction because I had this sort of thing that's always been with me, a hole that's needed to be filled, or a void, and that's apparent. That's apparent very early on. Hi. The cats are going. See, these
animals are there.
There's one. Yeah. So, and I think that, had maybe somebody around me understood some maybe early symptoms of somebody that might lean towards alcoholism or addiction, maybe would have seen that. And I didn't know how to talk about my feelings. I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. I have a wonderful family. My mom's just right over there. She can hear every word I'm saying. A wonderful family, but I didn't know how to talk about my feelings. It wasn't something that we really did that much. I mean, I could say I feel sad, but it wasn't something we really dove into. And I think teaching kids a way to express themselves, and teaching them that that's whatever they're feeling, that's totally normal, and it's okay, and I think, I swear, I wish schools had mandatory counseling in schools. That would the benefits of that would be so amazing. If we had, when you got out of high school, you knew how to communicate, you knew how to, talk about your feelings in a productive way, that would solve a lot.
Totally agree. I think sometimes we get things a little bit backwards, but no, those are some really valid illustrations there, because you see it every day. You can watch the child as they change, and as they grow into that very, very dark adolescent time, and not knowing where they fit in, where they belong, if they belong. And then we live in such a time now where the I call them the tools of destruction are so incredibly insidious that there's no such thing as experimentation anymore. and it's something that is it's wide open to these kids. And then we have a pandemic like this that adds to the anxieties, adds to the confusions. So it's one of those, I call it, a monster that's undefeatable. It just keeps, you cannot defeat this monster. But I think, in talking with people like you who have walked that walk and have come through on the other side, it is so important and so powerful, because what you do is you provide the guidepost for somebody else, and you are, you're a hope dealer. So what you're doing is important. So I appreciate that. I also wanted to, before I go, I wanted to talk about your family, because you brought them up a couple of times. And just recently you put up a special program on Friday, the Quarantine Show.
Family Quarantine.
Family Quarantine. And it was so fun to watch, and you can find it out on YouTube. You can go to her YouTube page and find it. So fun to watch the interaction between you and your family. But really, the most important part that I got out of it is the lightness with which you walk. The burdens seem to be peeling off, and it's just such it brought me so many smiles to see that, because it's kind of a silly show, but you pulled it off. You pulled it off in grand style.
Well, I got so tired. I was doing all these live streams myself, and I was like, well, my family's fun. Yeah, I have a wonderful family, and I think that that's a really, as far as this show goes, is important to note. Not everybody's path looks the same, and everybody that deals with this thing comes from a different place.
Absolutely.
Just because I have a loving family doesn't mean that my darkness wasn't really freaking dark, and it wasn't really, really hard, or if somebody has a horrible, it has a tough family or whatever, comparing apples to oranges doesn't help in this scenario. Addiction is addiction, and it's dark. And not to make something wonderful like talking about my family a dark thing, but it's like this has nothing to do with them. Like I didn't grow up around alcoholics in my house. I didn't grow up around, it's wholesome. Like that Family Quarantine show is like pretty accurate, like, pretty wholesome out here. But it still became something that I had to deal with, and I think that's important, because if you're comparing your situation to maybe somebody who's lost their home or lost everything, or somebody that's living in a penthouse, everybody is having, addiction is still dark. Right. No matter where you come from, and I think that's really important to focus on the similarities, when you're hearing other people's stories, not the differences. But anyways, yeah, my family's great. I love them. They're super sweet and super supportive, and we have a lot of fun, and maybe I wouldn't be having fun during this quarantine had I still been, drinking and using. I'd probably be looking for ways to get away, to leave, to go do something else. And now I just hang out and I have a good time, which is awesome. It makes it so much more fun, because everything's fun now. It's like you don't have to like do a bunch of work to go have fun. Everyday life can be fun, and it's awesome.
And you are really demonstrating that you're enjoying it, and it's so good to see. Katie, I want to thank you for coming, and I hope that we can have you back another time, maybe this time with your keyboard or your guitar, and sing some songs and play for us, and really get us ready for the big announcement. Katie will be playing Hope Rocks with Katie Toupin in Woodstock on October 24th, 2020. We are so excited to have her. This is a Hope Rocks event. If you've never been to a Hope Rocks event, make your way on up. It's worth the trip. It really is worth the trip, and we're so excited. But I got to say, Katie, I don't want to rush to October 24th. We got a lot of spring and summer yet that we got to enjoy, and I'm hoping that all of this passes behind us and we get to really spread our wings and enjoy the good life for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's all just chill for a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait to be up there. I was so disappointed that the tour got canceled and that show in particular, got moved. But I'm so glad we were able to reschedule it, and I cannot wait to get up there.
Katie, I want to close the show with a brand new song that you did, and to bring us back to the beginning where we're talking about the beginning of your tour. On March 9th, which is really 4 days before the craziness, really hit. You're in Atlanta. You're at Pace Studios doing a couple of songs, and you I don't know if it was a premiere, but you introduced a brand new song called I Don't Want to Die. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I wrote a song called Don't Want to Die. I released it. I actually don't even know the date I released it. It was right before that Pace session. And it's about the last night I went out. And it's funny because it's called Don't Want to Die. And all of a sudden we're in the middle of this pandemic. And I'm like, well, if I don't have a song, I'm never going to have a song that goes viral if this song doesn't go viral. But right now. But yeah, the song's actually about sobriety, not the coronavirus. And it's about the last night I went out. The first verse is sort of about you're out and you meet people and you're like, oh, we're best friends. And then by the second verse, it's like, I don't know these people. And like, they're kind of scaring me. So I need to get away. And, basically the reason I got sober is I don't want to die. I felt like if there's one day I'm just not going to wake up from this. So.
Katie, I think that's a perfect song to go out on. And again, on behalf of the entire Hope Rocks team, thank you so much for coming out. You are a hope dealer, and all the best. And I can't wait to see you on the road. But before that, I'll be seeing your videos and your daily social hellos out there. You're doing a great job, and congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Thank you.